Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Yes, mad. Once upon a time, I was a little mild for about a week because I wasn't feeling very good, but I am lively, as you can hardly tell with the deep voice. I know when I go out there and do my book, the audio version, they don't want a radio voice like me out there because I don't want to scare away the normal general population. When that book that I have coming out, which will be in about a few weeks, I'll go ahead and introduce the crew, then we'll talk about the book. George Eichhorn, welcome back again to our original show.
Yeah, good to be back with you guys on the Sports Exchange. I love it.
Yeah, it's a show that has you and I written all over it, that's for sure.
Yeah, for years.
And the newest people in the last couple of years of the Sports Exchange who are making it better than ever, Jacob Christner.
Hey, what's going on? We got to see you back up, my man.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be back up. I can't think of anything better than to be with my pals, my colleagues, my brothers, etc. And last but not least, JB Ellis.
What's going on, Scott? Glad you're doing well. How's everybody else?
Doing great.
Thank you.
All right. Well, as I just tip my hat here, I want to talk about my new book that'll be coming out in about 3 or 4 weeks. That book is obviously a media type of book. It's called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. And to give you the crust of what it's all about, it is a media book. It talks about my early beginnings in this career with none other than George Eichhorn and how it's expanded past 43 years. And I also talk about a lot of the big people in the media, including Jacob Christner's favorite one, Frankreynolds. So,
absolutely.
Well, Frankreynolds, you can't have a book without Frankreynolds in it.
Absolutely.
Sure. And this guy, amongst other people, will be there, but Frankreynolds is in it. So we'll give you more details as it gets released. We have a packed show tonight, which means there are no parting shots, because when you pack it, you pack it. But before I get to them, I do want to preview tomorrow's Pundit's Pundit, and we'll be talking about the Frozen Frenzy, the NHL's version of NFL Red Zone. This is going to be a great topic to talk about, and we'll list, and Jacob will obviously, and I will try to promote Pundit's Pundit, but if you want to join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, one of the topics you can expect will be the Frozen Frenzy, the NHL's version of NFL Red Zone. All right, well, tonight we're going to lead off with Miguel Cabrera's career, and we're going to celebrate it. So, first of all, George, you know, when we talk about the fact that his career is over and he's in the Tigers front office, define his legacy.
Well, we all know his legacy all started down in Florida with the Florida Marlins way back in the day. And, you know, in hindsight, it was a good move because, as you know, he did not taste the champagne in the Tigers clubhouse. They went to the World Series twice. And obviously it was through no fault of his. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming him or anybody, but and I love Jimleyland as a manager, but he only won one game. So he was 1-8 as a World Series manager in Detroit. That being put aside for a second, I'm glad that when he was young, he got that world championship. So he does have that, obviously. He did not need that to make the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. Let's just be honest. He's a surefire number one pick in the Hall of Fame when he comes, his time is due. But I tell you what, the guy is just, you know, the only down part was the language barrier. And you can't overlook that. He did not connect, I don't believe, as well as somebody who speaks plain English. I'm not making fun of him, but I mean, because of his heavy accent, he was not interviewed every day. I mean, you know, like your team leaders, your captains of your teams, you know, they're always in front of the media. There's a lot of days where he did not want to talk to the media. The Tigers PR acknowledged that. They honored that. And then when he did, he gave very short interviews. So this year is more been like an aberration here in Detroit because he's been more available. He's been more talkative and obviously more emotional with what happened this year and all the great things that happened. But Scott, guys, no doubt about it. I mean, his legacy as one of the greatest hitters of all time is sealed. I know he's not in the top 10 in a lot of these categories, but come on, with injuries and everything like that, he would have been in the top 6, 7 of every category there was, probably if he was healthier. But the fact of the matter is he's in he's in a select group of guys there with 500 home runs, 3,000 hits, and I don't know how many doubles and all that stuff he's had, but he's just incredible. And the town sent him off right, but it was fun.
You know, one guy that obviously is my colleague here in South Florida, his name is Daniel Alvarez Montez, and we are good friends. And this guy here has traveled to a lot of Miggy's events in the last couple of years, especially with all the milestones. And, you know, I have a great working relationship with Daniel. And when you talk about a guy who's able to talk to Miggy and be able to promote baseball in the obviously in Latin America, you know, it's just amazing what this guy is. Now, the one thing you guys probably can appreciate, when I first started covering the Marlins in 2020 during the pandemic season, you know what those Zoom interviews are like? Because this was unbelievable. There's one thing I'm learning about the team on the fly, okay? But go to a Zoom event with the Marlins, and you know what ends up happening? If you don't know Spanish, you are in trouble. Because what ended up happening, the way the moderators set it up, they have a non-Spanish press conference with Don Mattingly and the rest of these guys, okay? Then they had the Spanish version, where you really get hosed if you didn't take Spanish for a second language. You think all the times I tried to take it and never made it, it could have come in handy when I needed it then. So now you think you got two separate media availabilities, the English and the Spanish. For a lot of you people in hockey in Montreal, it'd be like you have the French version and then you have the Canadian/American version. So go figure that. But still, you know, I'll say this, his legacy is unreal beyond the milestones, because it's not what he did for just baseball in Detroit and Miami. It's what he did around Major League Baseball, and add a Triple Crown winner to it, as well as all the other accomplishments, 500 home runs, over 3,000 hits. The list goes on and on. It's unreal. So with that said, okay, I'll turn it over to Jacob.
Think about this for a second. And we talk about that he may not be top 5, top 10, or he's very, very close. In 11-year stretch. 11. Now, we got to remember, this is in an era where it started the whole strikeout, 250 average, 240 average with the bio home runs. We're in the era now where Kyle Schwarber stays in the league at 180 with 40 homers. You know, it's like we're in that. An 11-year stretch averaging 335, about 433 to 435 OBP, 4 years of 1,000 OPS, and the average in that time frame about 35 homers and about 120 RBIs. 11-year stretch. You got to think about this for a second. And these are the times, like I said, we have a lot of hitters that don't have that same discipline. Like I said, right now we are seeing that, and it started with had it done probably 20 years ago. We're seeing more and more 220s. We're seeing even worse now. We're seeing 180s, and they stay because they can pop home runs. And it's like, and so when you see those numbers, it is kind of the equivalent of looking at Greg Maddox's 15-year stretch.
Right.
Kind of the hitter's version of that, where it's just constant. And here's the thing: he probably would have extended it 3 or 4 more years, more for injuries.
Right.
He probably would have, because he was that good of a hitter, just that good. And it's like, and you feel, and that's the big thing. You hate when they get old. It's like Roger Federer. It's like all that stuff. But you want to know, the greatest thing about it is he never really hit under 250, like toward his end. It means that he wasn't. See, this is what I say about something like this: when you don't hit under 250, you're still a puncher's chance every time. You're still a puncher's chance. It's like with Roger, you were the guy. And I mean, you had to play your very best to still beat him. He was 40 years old. You still have to give your best pitch to take Miggy out. Now he's leaving while you had to do it. He's leaving the game while you still had to do it, because you can always have that point where you never, where you can just strike him out easily, or he'd be like Moses Malone when he was in his final year, 2 points in 5 minutes. You could easily do that if you stay too long. Yeah, the injuries got to him, but he never hit under 250 in an era where a lot of 180s. So congratulations to him. He never really lost it truly. He got injured. He didn't have a lot of backswinging because his shoulders were gone. But something, he still had that puncher's shot. And a lot of people can lose that. So congratulations to him.
Well, unlike Juan Gonzalez, where Comerica Park scared the daylights and he didn't want to take more money to stay there, Miguel Cabrera didn't care. I may not have as many home runs, but boy, he hit a lot of doubles, that's for sure.
Well, think about it. 6'4", 270, he stayed 20 years. That usually beats them. They're usually gone after 12 years because that size breaks them up.
Yeah.
No, that's true. But Juan Gonzalez didn't want no part of Comerica Park, whereas Miguel Cabrera embraced it and yet alone hit over 300. That's unreal. All right, Joe.
Listen, what he did, Jacob talked about a whole bunch of numbers. That's modern baseball, these crazy stat numbers, OBS and GPS and RAM and BPT. Who cares about that? Average, home runs, RBIs. The man did it all. Those are the only three stats that matter. And he stayed with the Tigers for how long? He was in Detroit for years. He played well. He, came from Miami, stayed in Detroit the rest of his career. Yeah, he had some injuries towards the end, but the man won a Triple Crown. The first one to do it in how long? That's something that
since '67. Yeah.
Right. Growing up watching baseball, it was always, is anyone gonna ever do that again? You know how hard that is? And to go out and do that, nothing but a lot of respect for the man. I'm glad to see that he opened up this year and was a little bit better with the media. That's a great thing. I blame MLB for that. Guy's a Triple Crown winner. They don't promote their stars very well. Their marketing is horrible. The guy's what you want in a baseball player. Everything that you should be. The Detroit people, I'm sure, are proud that they had him there for that long.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's going to be missed. The guys like that are what baseball's about. These new guys with their averages, like Jacob said, 180, you can hit 60 home runs if you hit 180. I don't want you on my team. I don't care. And you hit 180 with 60 homers and 65 RBIs. You're useless.
Right.
Absolutely useless.
We're getting close to that, too. We're getting close to 60 over 60. I saw Cubs averages, which is not terrible when I was at the Cubs-Braves game, and you're seeing things like 21 homers and 63 RBIs or something. It's like the 1 in 3. Which used to be the 1 in 4.5, 1 in 5.
Yep.
Good points, Joe. The best part about it is that he's still with the Detroit Tigers front office, so his presence will be around. He'll certainly have an influence not only in the existing clubhouse, but particularly a lot of the Latin players as well. So Miggy may not be on the field, but his presence is another Mr. Tiger like Al Kaline. This day's version is very much going to be felt there.
At 6'4", 270, he'll be their head bouncer.
You know what? I wouldn't want to get in his way, and I have no desire to. All right, so with that said, let's go on to football. All right, the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator, Brianschottenheimer, told reporters that the Cowboys will be leaning on Treylance to give insight on the 49ers. Dallas acquired Lance in a preseason trade. Well, you know what? What are your thoughts, George? Familiarity, especially one of the best games of the year. Go ahead, George.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a great one. No question about it, on paper at least. Dallas at Frisco next week. I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's always some sort of little advantage, I guess, for a player, but don't forget, a lot of the plays change from year to year, season to season, and their playbook might look a lot different, especially if they're playing the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys I play in San Francisco. So, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of validity to that, but I don't think a whole lot, because after all, you got to beat them offensively. You got to beat them on defense. You got to special teams. You can run the whole gamut. So yeah, Lawrence may help a little bit, but hey, look, it's Brock Purdy's show right now, and they're obviously doing what they can to try to gain an edge. I guess the offensive coordinator's making a statement like that. Who knows? Maybe they saw that in Frisco and they're laughing at it. I don't know. But all that being said, it's going to be, on paper, again, a great matchup. I'm looking forward to it.
What about you, Jacob?
Well, something, here's the big thing. I'm going to do a Larry Bird reference on this one. There was all that trash talk that he used to give. They used to trash talk him, and he would tell them exactly where he was going to go, how he's going to spin around. He's going to take it to the left. He's going to take it to the right. Oh, yeah, and then he's going to do a left hook over. He's going to tell you how he's going to do it. Then he's going to do it. And he did it in the finals. In the NBA Finals. So he was telling you he not only is he telling you to play, he's telling you where he's going to go on the play, and you can't stop him. Hey, Ralph, and it's like, and you cannot stop him. And it's the same with the Niners. And JB sees this. We see it every single time. Doesn't matter what you know, what you're going to get from Trey. Doesn't matter what you get. You can't. They are schemed wide open. It is pitch and catch. It doesn't matter what you have. And then plus the fact they lose their best backfield guy. And it doesn't matter by itself. They don't throw a lot of long balls, maybe 3 a game. So it's just going to be pitch and catch, 8 yards, 11 yards, 9 yards. It's like you can tell them all day long. It's not going to really matter. It's the same with Miami unless it's Buffalo. Like, well, imagine what they're going to do to the Giants next week. And JB should know that. And like what they're going to do to them. And it's like, it doesn't matter what somebody knows. It doesn't matter if you like go into the locker room and put a camera and just get. It doesn't matter if you know what it is, because you can't stop it. That when you're that good, you can't stop them. And that's the whole thing. It's not the play, it's the execution. So Trey can tell them all they want to, and you lost your best backfield. San Francisco's just that good.
Yeah. All right, Joe.
Are you kidding me? This guy, you were a coordinator in the NFL because daddy got you your job. You useless thing. And now, on top of that, watch the game film. It's called Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuels, Greg Kittles. What more do you need to know? Who are you going to stop? Pick one, because then they'll beat you a different way. Maybe work on scoring in the red zone. Maybe we could do that. Maybe dial up daddy, because you obviously don't know what you're doing. Have a good day. Get out of here.
Is daddy still alive?
I don't even know, but come on. You need to get help. You're a coach. I mean, what is that? Disgusting.
Well, Schottenheimer doesn't do anything anyway. I mean, McCarthy runs the dang plays.
Joe, let's dial it back just a little bit, okay?
Disgusting. Disgusting.
Okay. No, hey, listen, I love your. This is the most animated I've seen you in a while. Keep it up. I love it.
Listen, I've watched 149 a game this year when they played the Giants. I knew what they were going to do. It doesn't take much. It's not hard. They have 4 great offensive weapons. They have the guy who was drafted last in the draft class playing quarterback. So let's see. The guy who got drafted last is better than who they traded up for in the first round? No. Anybody can play quarterback in their system. All you have to do is pick your weapon. And if that person's guarded, go to somebody else. There's too many weapons. And then on top of that, their defense is also really good. See, Dallas, instead of worrying about, we're going to go to the Super Bowl, score inside the red zone. Then you could be a Super Bowl contender. Until then, there's too much talk. It's like Jerry Jones has leached into all their brains. It's disgusting. It's horrible.
Well, The only thing I'm going to say about this thing is this. If you feel you have to resort to Treylance to get information, you're in deep trouble because really what you end up getting was a later round pick for him anyways. He's a work in progress. He'll be a project, and he's only there if Dak will ever be there 2, 3, 4 years down the road. So let's just think you can get a little bit of mileage, not much, even though you're right. Okay. You're talking about the late Marty Schottenheimer. To me, he was one of the best coaches to never win a Super Bowl, by the way. But yeah, Brian Schottenheimer, no question, rode the coattails of his dad to get in there. Think about it. Well, I mean, he also had the Shanahans, although the East Shanahans are pretty good, Kyle and Mike. But yeah, you're right. I don't put a lot of stock. But if they want to, but remember, Joe, the one thing about journalism that you're finding out pretty much, okay, is this, okay? And this is where we're going to have some fun. The celebrity and the journalist. We haven't given up on that one yet. We haven't done it, okay? Remember, it's all about the storyline and making the interesting intrigue about the game on Sunday night. Even though of all the shows I've ever had you on, Joe, and take this as a high, full-fledged professional compliment, okay? Don't lay back in your chair now. Just make sure you get up a little bit, show a little bit of, unless Debbie has you in a low-riding chair, okay, like a whatever.
That's as low as you're getting.
This is Joe. This is called a storyline. Okay, a storyline.
Do you need a storyline for the best two teams in the NFC playing each
As
other?
a matter of fact, any way you can pump ratings, you do it. Even whether it's insane or not, you never know. It's not me, Joe. Okay, they're finding every way to build this game up any way they can. And you know darn well that Treylance's name is going to be mentioned a fair amount of time during the broadcast. But I agree. Do I think it's stupid? Yes. Do I think that Christian McCaffrey, to me, obviously, is a big story? Oh yeah. I mean, he was an animal in Carolina. Then you stick him with a winner, and then what do you have there? So I'm with you. But remember, okay, the celebrity and the journalist. Okay, the celebrity that you are acting like tonight, which is great. This is the best version I've seen of Joe Ellis tonight. Okay, storylines, and we have to use Brian Schottenheimer to do it. That's fine, because at least they work their way on the sports exchange, my friend, and that's why we are talking about it.
Hey, I'll say this. My favorite one-liner about Treylance was that he looks like Patrick Mahomes in a Hallmark movie about Andy Reid.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Wow.
All right, well, you know what? I'm going to be all over the map on the topic side. So we're going to go back and forth, baseball. We're going to talk about football. And then, and you know what? I'm going to save two of the most opinionated things where Jacob near the end so he can light it up, because I got this show is tailor-made for Christian, that's for sure. So, but we're going to give some of them, you won't have to comment on these other ones leading to the build-up, but you say whatever you want. So we're going to go to Buckshowalter. Out as New York Mets manager. George, some thoughts?
Well, I wasn't totally surprised. I mean, we were talking about this on the 108 Stitches last night. Buck's a good guy. He's a class guy. Let's face it, everything that Cohen wanted to do over there kind of blew up. Max Scherzer, the dream of Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander being on his staff. Oh my God. And then they're both gone by midseason. Hey, it's not Buck's fault. I mean, he's a guy that you need for that, take you to that pinnacle. That's the guy like a Sparky Anderson, like a Jim Leyland was in Detroit. Those are the kind of guys that take you to the promised land, take you to the playoffs, take you to the World Series. Well, it didn't happen. And unfortunately for Buck, it was time to move on. Good man, though, potential Hall of Famer down the road. I don't know what his future holds, but they obviously needed a younger manager right now, because they seem to be hemorrhaging there. And the Mets are going to obviously probably peel back all those huge contracts if they can, some of them. But no, I wasn't totally surprised that he's gone.
Jacob?
Something, to me, he is, in a certain way, a Howard Schnellenberger of baseball. He built teams.
I like that.
Yeah, he built teams. He built outside of this first year in New York, his first year in New York, and he won 101 games. Every other one, he started out with a losing season. He only has a .509 career winning percentage. I think it's like 535 for Dusty or something. But it's like 509. But it's because he started he'd have 76, 65, 73 wins to start. And then he'd move back up, and then, and then he'd leave. So he built teams. And that's his legacy. But the biggest thing about it now is the fact that he's 67 years old. They brought him in the first place because guess what? The Houston was bringing in Dusty. The White Sox are bringing in La Russa.
Yeah.
And there was specific, regardless of what anybody would say about La Russa, there's a playoff. There was specific, even when there's a World Series, but even before the World Series, there was specific success with both, with old men. So they're trying to replicate it with Buck. And what did Buck do? 101 wins his first year. 101 wins. So you're thinking, okay, they have themselves a chance, and then it's a disaster. And really, you're 67, unless you're 68-year-old, let's see, Texas Rangers, Phil, finish me real quick. I'm tired.
Nevins?
Huh?
Nevins?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Nevin. Was it the manager of the Texas Rangers was the Giants?
Bruce. Talking about
Bochy.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm tired. I'm sorry.
That's
but no,
right.
Bochy was 68 years old. He had retired. He had 3 straight losing seasons up to 3 World Series, and then he comes back and he gets to the playoffs regardless. Yeah, and he's winning now. But this comes at a time when everybody been bringing back the old game.
Right.
You know, the ones that were winning, you know, that was proven. And he was there for a bit. But the issue with it is Dusty would be no different if something would happen in Houston. You don't want to build anymore. You're old. You're older. You'd rather be, you still love the game. You'd rather be a scout. That wouldn't surprise me if Dusty, after however long he lasts, has like a cane that's shaped of a baseball bat and goes around and does some scouting or whatever because he loves the game so much. But he gets to go home at night. And he'll get to go home at night. And it wouldn't shock me to see something, Dusty do that, and it definitely won't shock me to see Buck do that. He'll always be around the game. People are going to remember his skill. He's going to remember his legacy. You just get older, and then you don't want to burn it up. I mean, you got to remember there were like 12 straight years of Connie Mack being bad before he retired. But he was the old statesman. He was 88 when he retired and passed. That's just the difference. You can't do that anymore, though, with all this internet.
All right, before I go into Joe, one thing and I also want to make sure I let everybody know about, in case you're just joining us, just so you know, the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problems. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter, X, at Tribune South. Candy Hebling is behind the scenes. Okay, Joe, continue on about Buckshowalter.
So the first thing I ever covered in sports was the Baltimore Orioles spring training. And it was the year after Buck left. So I had the opportunity to talk with the beat reporters as we were sitting around watching the team practice. And, being a Yankee fan, loving Buck, I said, what do you think happened? And I sat down with Matt Blood, who hired the coaching staff for the organization, and the general consensus is with Buck, his shtick only lasts a couple of years. He's very hard on everybody. He doesn't really develop it's not a players type manager. It's his way or the highway, old school. Tom Coughlin would be a good way of putting it. It lasts a few years, and then that's it. He gets the most out of the guys. You reach the plateau of where it's going to be, and then it's time to move on. He's a great manager. I love the guy. Not shocking. Unfortunately, they had a lot of injuries. They just weren't winning this year. Time for him to go somewhere else. He'll manage again. He's not done managing. Would it be shocking? Could end up with the Cubs, maybe the Bronx again. Who knows? He'll, if he wants to manage, which I'm sure he will, he'll show up somewhere. He'll get a paycheck, and he'll make that team better than what they are because he knows the game.
Yeah. The only thing I want to add to this, because you guys have done a really good job covering it. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and I remember that Buck Showalter is the one that built the Diamondbacks from scratch and laid down the foundation for the Diamondbacks to win the 2001 World Series. And Bob Brenly got the ring, and Buck Showalter did the dirty work, as in Howard Schnellenberger. We'll leave it on that. But that said, we're going to talk about yet another manager, and we should. On Sunday, we talk about Miguel Cabrera's final day, but I'm not so sure we've seen the final chapter of what's going to happen. Terry Francona's retirement, his legacy as a player and a manager. He won 2 World Series titles with the Boston Red Sox. So this is a 2-part question for each of you, okay? Number one, how would you define Terry Francona's legacy? And then and I don't think he's going to be retired. I think personally he was tired of, he needed a break is what he needed. He's been managing in Cleveland for a long time, and he obviously knows he probably did as much as he could do there. But I have a feeling he's going to manage again, but I think he needs about a year or two off. And I'll put him in the Bruce Bochy category. So I've laid out the groundwork there. So, George, the 2-part question. Please give me your answer to it.
Well, Terry's legacy, I believe, is a positive one, is a good one. They were in Detroit, as you guys know, to close out the season, and the Tigers did a nice thing. They sat ajhinch down, and AJ did a testimonial, and they played it between the top of the first and the bottom of the first. I thought it was a real nice gesture, and that just shows me there's a lot of respect. Terry Francona has the respect, obviously, of his peers, but more importantly, of his team. Cleveland, I mean, he obviously, you want to win the big prize, and they didn't do it. But all that being put aside, he got the most out of those players. He always got the most out of his players, whether it was Boston or Cleveland, wherever he was. And I respected him for that. I really did. And, Scott, I know you're making that assumption, but I don't know. With his health lately, I don't know if he wants the grind anymore of managing. But like you said, maybe after a year or two he's off. We'll see what happens. But, he's had so many health scares, and I know that he's probably looking forward to that break. But I just want to let you know that, and I'm not just bragging about A.J. Hinch. It could have been any city that Cleveland played their final series in that probably would have did the same thing. But to me, it showed a lot of respect. He took out the lineup card. He and A.J. were talking to the umpires on Sunday, his final lineup card, they're laughing and schmucking it up with our boy Hernandez, so one of Jacob's favorite umpires, I know.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Steve McMichaels.
I won't go that. Okay, I'm done with Hernandez for now. But yeah, Scott, I do think he's going to be. His legacy is solid. I'm just not sure he's going to manage again right away.
Well, I didn't say right away. I said, give me a year or two off. Once you miss it after a while, you got to get your house straightened out. If anybody ought to know, it's me. I certainly had to deal with some things and step back and focus on health. You come back feeling better, then you're a lot stronger. So, yeah, I mean, the reality of the situation is not only was he a pretty solid player, but a better manager. And it shows that if you could break the curse in the World Series in Boston, of all places, don't get me wrong, Boston's a great sports town, but that was a pressure cooker of a job, and he did it. Then that says a lot about him, and he's won everywhere else. He won in Philadelphia, right? And then he's won with Boston. He's won everywhere. So with that said, Jacob.
Well, something, I'm going to say this. Who knows if he's going through this time? Because Tim Wakefield just died, 57 years old. He's managed him. He had managed it. It's like this is the thing, health. And it was a brain tumor. And it's like it's health that you think about. And it's like, so that could really weigh in on him that he needs to take a break on this. But at the same time, he's taken a couple years off 3 different times. He took it off the first time for 4 years after the horrible stretch at the Phillies. He gets 4 years, goes to the Red Sox, takes 2 years off, goes to the Indians, then / Guardians. He does this, but he does do this so he can watch his health. The big thing is, will he come back? Who knows? But here's the thing. His legacy is more than solid. You realize he had 18 straight winning seasons?
Wow.
18 straight. Not even Dusty. Because Dusty had the bad season. And he had the bad season in Chicago and then the first bad season in Cincinnati before he got the couple of the division titles. So it's like not even Dusty, who's an all-time great. 18 straight winning seasons before this final bad year this year. So after starting out with 4 straight bad seasons, it could have been Dale Swain. Takes 4 years off, gets a refresher of what managing is, which we were talking about with David Ross on Confidential, the JB. He needed to find maybe he could take a deep breath, go to the minors, learn the dang thing, and come back. As I said, because Francona obviously did this. He found a way somewhere because he went from miserable to an all-time great. Sometimes it takes a break. Sometimes it takes a switch in your head. Something happened with Francona where he never lost again until this year, and that's it. And that till 18 straight years. How many do that? Like we brought on Connie Mack earlier. I think he did in the middle of his career in like 12, 13 final bad seasons. But I'm saying, but he also was a manager for 47 years or something. Ridiculous number. But how many of these guys, it is very hard to win in 162 games and stay good all the time. Keep everybody motivated. It's 162 games. And, I mean, the Buck Showalter is like one of the all-time greats. And I'm like, he'd start out bad and he built the team. But not 18 straight seasons winning before this one. And then got 2 World Series, went to another.
Right.
That's Hall of Fame worthy if I've ever heard it.
Okay, Joe.
Listen, I mean, Terry Francona, great guy. I'm a Yankee fan. He broke the Red Sox curse, and I still like him. So, I mean, if that doesn't tell you enough about where he is as far as likability, sometimes you need some time off. You know, it, I would have loved to have seen him win in Cleveland. It would have been a great story. He's one of the best managers in the game, and when he wants to manage again, he'll get a job. There's plenty of jobs out there. There's, always someone that's looking for a new manager, especially someone that has a proven track record. So when he's ready to manage, there'll be a job that's his. I don't think he'll stay out maybe longer than a year or two. But you need a break after you do it for so many years in a row. The grind of an MLB season, no other sport compares to that. 162 games over the course of 5.5 months with very few off days. That's why it's so hard to be a baseball player. And a manager, usually 20 to 30 years older, the travel, the time away from the family, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
Well, and by the way, Joe, don't forget spring training. Okay, you have that.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky enough to get to the playoffs, you can take the 162 and add tack to it, right? Okay.
Exactly.
So.
And those are high pressure situations. It's not, you're 60 and 100, who cares?
Right. Exactly.
More power to you. All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna save the most controversial topics, the ones that will get Jacob going at the very end. So I've got one more we're gonna slide in, and then I've got to realize that I'll be 61 by the time Jacob Christner gets done talking about these two. Stay tuned. They're coming up in a second.
But you'll be 65.
Yeah, whatever. I have no idea.
Four more.
I have no idea. But the New York NFL team's quarterback situation, which one gets fixed? Daniel Jones, who, by the way, got sacked 11 times against Seattle. Zachwilson of the Jets, who actually played pretty good against Kansas City. All right, George, which one gets fixed? If one, both, or neither?
Well, Zach has shown me a little bit more promise, but obviously Jones is the better quarterback of the two. It'll be interesting to see because, they got their hands full going down to Miami now, the Giants this Sunday. So it's going to be really difficult for them they need a bounce back win. No question about it. Both teams do. Obviously, both New York teams, both lost. They're both on national television, like 30 hours apart, same stadium. I thought it was kind of interesting juxtaposition. Those two games were played so close to each other and in the same stadium. But all that being said, Zach has shown some signs of improvement. I will give him that, but I still think Jones is the better quarterback. So I would say that hopefully, but again, you can't let your quarterback get sacked 11 times. I mean, my goodness. I mean, it's not his fault, for crying out loud. They got to get some better offensive linemen. And where are you going to get those? You have injuries and you have this and that. And you didn't beef up your line when you should have last offseason, or whatever excuses the Giants want to give. But I will say this. I still think Jones obviously is better than Wilson. And Wilson, in his defense, wasn't even supposed to play much this year for the Jets, but he has shown some improvement the last game or two.
Jacob.
Daniel Jones's contract is an absolute albatross. I don't get it. I do not. They literally showed the side-by-side deal. He has the same numbers as Mitchell Trubisky, who's about to get 3 or 4 more games right now to add to that in Pittsburgh at $8 million a year. This is $40 million. This is $40 million to be this ridiculous. I mean, the biggest thing was the thing was he was not even that good last year at 3,200 yards. Wasn't even that great. This is what I talked about. This is the Mel Tucker of quarterbacks. You get one good year and then you have to rush it. You have to rush it to go get them and and pop it in. No, you really don't. And this is what happens with the Bears. It's like they panic and they make stupid decisions. You were already winning, and now you've lost 14. So it's going to be about 15 straight tomorrow. You're about to do that because you hustled, you worried, and you panicked. You can take your dang time here. And it's like you're listening to fans too much. I'm just going to say that. You're listening to it. You're listening to their booing. Daniel Jones did not need $40 million. Did not need to bring him down. He wasn't that kind of quarterback. As far as Zach Wilson goes, he plays good. He plays good for one reason only: is when Daddy's in town. That's Aaron Rodgers. That's his dad. That's his dad. That's his daddy. And
Well,
it's
you're
like,
on fire tonight, Chris. You really
and
are.
it's like
Keep
it's
it rolling.
mentor. It's a mentor, and I'm good
Right.
for. See, and I know very well about Aaron Rodgers. He's kind of a jerk. He's kind of within. He's kind of brought within. But you know something? He took this kid under his wing when everybody's hating on him. I think he gets it. I think he gets it with. He's probably had that more than once in his life. He sees sort of a blonde, smart ass kid, even though Aaron Rodgers was never blonde. He sees a smart ass kid with a lot of confidence, but in the wrong way, and probably wants to get him his confidence properly. And and this is what you need to do. But here's what I'm gonna say: take that stupid book out of Hackett's hands and give it to Aaron. If he's gonna be gone the rest of the year, let him call it, because he was calling it anyway when Hackett was there.
Right.
When it was Hackett, like Hackett doesn't call plays; he makes his cappuccino. He makes Aaron's cappuccino. He doesn't do anything for Aaron Rodgers. So just take that book out of his hand and give it to Aaron.
Yeah. All right, Joe, you got a tough one to follow. This guy's on fire with his one-liners, but keep it rolling.
Listen, Zach Wilson's only playing because the unfortunate injury to Aaron Rodgers. So he's irrelevant. He'll be gone. The Jets are stuck with him this year. As far as Daniel Jones, the Giants refused to pay the MVP of the offense, who happens to get hurt almost every year. And when he's not in the game, the offense looks even worse. And imagine what he could do if they had an offensive line. Now, forget about Daniel Jones. Barkley is by far one of the best running backs in the game because all his yards come without an offensive line. Now, secondly, you gave Daniel Jones $40 million, and he forgot how to play football because the line was pretty much the same last year. It hasn't gotten that much worse. The man forgot what color his team's jerseys are. Instead of throwing the ball away, he's throwing it to the defense. He is by far the worst quarterback in the NFL. Bears fans and everyone's talking about whether they're going to bench Justin Fields. I'll gladly give up a second-round pick today and send him to New York because him and Barkley together would actually turn that offense into something decent with the rest of the skill players they have.
Well, you know what? Hold your thoughts because that's coming up in a second. Stay on point because you fall into the GMTA situation here, okay? So it's not like you've gone ahead and taken your eyes, Mr. Ellis, and started looking at my information. So I'm with you.
This is something
now
I've been
really
talking about
forcing my hand. Huh?
I've been talking about this for over a week because Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
Watching a Giant game, the only way I can enjoy it is to either A, have the team that plays against the Giants in the suicide pool, or some sort of parlay against the Giants, and because I know they're not going to win, and if they happen to win, I'll be so ecstatic that it's okay to lose money because they're that bad. They
but
are
your
the
suicide
worst.
pool's dead if they win.
That's funny.
It's okay. I'd be so much shocked that they won a game. They are horrible. The best they could do at this point of the year is be 8-9. When you look at the rest of their schedule, we're in week 5. We haven't even played the 5th game of the year, and the best I can hope for my team to do is go 8-9. Daniel Jones, bench him now. I don't care. Take the kid out of Rutgers right now. Let him play quarterback. They'd be better. Don't even get me started.
No, I think you did a good job of it on your own. So let me just comment on this so we can segue to where you were headed anyways, all right? And I'm going to lead off with you on this next one. I don't think either one's going to get fixed. It doesn't help that Daniel Jones got sacked 11 times, offensive line or not. Getting sacked 11 times is not a good situation. Zach Wilson, I guess I'll go ahead and piggyback off of Jacob. Aaron Rodgers in town. You might as well throw away the playbook from Hackett and let Aaron take over. Maybe there is a future for Aaron Rodgers as a coach. And if there is, then he's certainly getting an opportunity to do it. So I don't think either situation is going to get fixed.
Well, if he's a coach, he's just going to make sure you never got vaccinated or you're not on his team.
Yeah, immunize. Let's just forget immunize. All right, so that's a real good example. But I'll say this much, and I just felt bad when you see a guy get sacked 11 times in one game. and yet they continue to play this guy. I mean, and that's the biggest travesty of the whole thing. So, but Zach Wilson, I will say this much, okay? At least he played a decent game against Kansas City, anyways. Whether this will carry over later, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it tonight, anyways. We're just trying to talk about the quarterback situation in the metropolitan New York area. As a lot of bettors would say, it's a push. Neither of them are going to get fixed. And the only thing is that the Giants are going to pay the piper more so than the Jets because they can wash their hands of Zach Wilson anytime they want. All right, well, now that Joe kind of tiptoed through the next topic, we're going to talk about Justin Fields. Is he fixable? And where would be the best place for him to land? All right, Joe, you get to lead off and continue what you had started.
Brian Dable, great quarterback coach.
Okay.
Justin Fields, a lot of talent. Daniel Jones, not very talented. Easy fix. Everybody's happy.
What about you, Jacob?
Of course he is, because he looked good against Denver, even though that's a terrible team. He has skill. I say all of this. My thing on Justin Fields, and everybody's heard me say this part on the pundit. They've heard me say it on here. Everybody say it ad nauseum. I don't have a thing against him. He's got a lot of skills, and you can be able to. He was developed wrong in Chicago. He is developed wrong. They don't have an offensive line. They have a terrible front office. They have terrible ownership. And then they have delusional fans over and over and over. And it's just one brick on top of his head to the other. And here's the thing. Okay, JB, you want him at the Giants? More than happy to help get that there. I also like him here in Atlanta. It's home.
I knew it.
Yeah, get him with Arthur Smith. Same with Dable. They will both figure out how to be able to get him properly, and all of a sudden he'll win 2 or 3 straight games. You watch. He's lost 11 in a row by himself. The team's going to be 15 tomorrow. So it's like that just wears you out at a thing, no matter how good you are. So is it fixable? Absolutely, it is. Just get him. Just get him. I said this to a buddy of mine. Get him with somebody that they will see him throw a tight window. He'll get picked off. They'll say to him, that was a good throw and just a good play. He will blow it up because his whole career has basically been skittish. With a skittish offensive line, skittish offensive coordinators, everything, a bunch of screens, very few slants. He's got a bunch of everything. The minute that he makes a mistake and they say to him, oh, it's a good play by them, he'll blow it up the league because he will have the confidence.
George?
I don't know where he's going to land, guys. I mean, you've given a couple of suggestions there, New York and Atlanta. I know he's not coming to Detroit.
You don't need him.
Hey, what if Matthew Stafford gets, his injuries become more severe? What about the Rams? Would they be interested in him, do you think? I mean,
yeah, but the thing is, he keeps playing through them. He keeps playing through them, though, and they're running out of time to pick him up.
Yeah, I know that he's playing through them, but there may not be a huge window for him to keep playing through them. But no, it's just not working out. Let's face it. Come on now. It's not the Bears. It's not just Fields, but it's just the whole picture there is just bad. I mean, and Jacob's talked about it on so many shows, the situation and how bad it is there in New York, in Chicago. New York's not much better, but I really think, he needs a change of scenery. Matthew Stafford needed that change of scenery. I know I'm comparing apples and oranges, and he got it. And Jared Goff needed that change of scenery, and Detroit got him. I mean, there are some times when that works, but I seriously think they got to move the guy, and it's got to be obviously a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, amazingly enough, when I thought about this topic, the first destination I thought he should go to was the Atlanta Falcons. I really do believe it, and obviously that's where he's from anyways. And I think that the Falcons, I don't know how far you're going to go with Desmond Ridder, but I think that Justin
he's horrible.
But when I knew that Jacob talked about Atlanta in his backyard, I knew as soon as I could have made bet my last dime here that you would have gone out there and mentioned it. And boy, my instincts were extremely right about you, Jacob. Yeah, I think the Atlanta Falcons for sure. So
Yeah, and I would, and just to bring it up to JB, I help him get him to the Giants now, because the Giants let's see, he's got Brian Dable. Dable would be able to do so much more with a guy like this.
well,
He
you're
just
talking
would,
about a guy that you
everything.
can use. You're talking about a guy that has extreme mobility with his legs, and if you find a way to have a good offensive coordinator that can get his passing game in decent shape with good receivers, then you're better off that way. Think about it. There's a team in Chicago so dysfunctional that they're willing to let Chase Claypool go. I don't know if he's a head case or what he is, but they don't have many great receivers, and now you might as well let him go for whatever reason. So we'll go from there. All right, our final topic of the night is one that we know Jacob is going to like, because we've talked about it on a lot of different shows. But this was pretty interesting. And as much as I have a hard time with Stephen A. Smith once in a while, I will say this. He may be a little loud for my taste, but his research is off the charts. That's why I decided to incorporate it tonight. James Harden nearly got a max deal from Houston, but when he told Rockets coach Imeudoka that he wanted to be a scoring champion, Houston rescinded the offer. All right, George, I'll start off with you.
The continuing saga continues. Oh my God. He wants to be a scoring champion, huh? Oh,
Yeah.
Of course. Putting himself first, putting himself above the team. Oh, that doesn't sound any different than the Harden I've followed and known these past several years, obviously. The guy is he's a head case to me. He's not a team player. We've talked about it. And boy, oh boy, it just continues on. You got to put that kind of stuff aside, especially you're a veteran. You're supposed to be a leader, a veteran, bringing these young guys and working with these young guys that your team is drafting and signing as free agents. I mean, we got a whole young team in Detroit. But we don't have anybody like Harden, obviously, to make a comment like that. But all I'm saying is that even if you're a veteran and you may want to add that to your resume, a scoring title, or how about an NBA championship, then you can't put yourself above. You cannot.
Rodney Pouch is the best answer for it. He's laughing. Oh,
hi, Rodney.
Hey, Rodney, thanks for being a part of the broadcast tonight. Good stuff. Laugh out loud, true. Oh, there you go. But we like the laughs here. But Rodney, we're going to apply these laughs to James Harden, and I'm sure you handle that with good taste. Go ahead, George. If you're done,
I'm all set. I'm done.
All right, all right, we got to go to Jacob Christner. How many times have we talked about it on Basket Bros?
You said James Harden title. That was funny.
Jacob, we know what your laugh. Now, give me the Mr. Opinion side of James Harden.
I'm thinking of Bobby the Brain Heenan in one of his WCW where he laughed the whole day. He laughed the whole this segment. James Harden in title. Nah.
My God, I can't duplicate that.
Let me tell you though. I did this before Sideline Sports, before I was hired at Sideline Sports. I was doing this. I did this 10 years earlier. This is a number 11. I went after James Harden. Number 11, where I said, you're not going to win a title with him, ever. Those days, I was laughed at. I was like, how in the world do you, all that kind of stuff like that. Oh, he's just a sidekick away. Guess what? Now everybody's following my lead. I've been saying, JB's heard me say it ad nauseum. Everybody at Sideline Sports heard me say it ad nauseum. People on Twitter heard me say it ad nauseum. Facebook, everything. You don't win with this guy. He is a petulant child. He's a 15-year-old that you took away his phone. And he has a beard. And the biggest thing is he's never going to change with something like this. He hangs out with the baby or that baby or whatever the hell his name is. Hangs out with that, and he goes to strip clubs all the time with peaches and cream or whatever the hell they are. And he goes to China and makes fun of Maury and goofiness. He's ridiculous. He'll never change. You got to win. You have to have a level of maturity. Even Dennis Rodman had. Dennis Rodman was a marketing genius. I'm just saying this.
Right.
But he understood the maturity it took and the work it took to win. He did his one thing great, his rebounding, his defense, two things great.
He did those things. He understood the maturity. It takes a maturity to win it all. Harden will never have it.
Okay, JB.
Can't hear you.
Hey, JB, I don't handle sign language very good when the mute button is on, but I know
There you go.
do.
There you go.
And I will have learned a different aspect of communication. There you go.
But that's exactly the topic. James Harden. Who cares?
Oh, okay.
Who
No,
cares?
so this is this is by design now that he had it on there because I never realized you can use a mute button that way. All the things you learn doing this, right? So
James Harden.
Let me set this straight. JB Ellis tonight decides to use the mute button like they do on Pardon the Interruption, okay? Or no, not Pardon the Interruption. Yeah, what's the other one? Forget about the Pardon the. That's a good one. Around the Horn. There you go. There you
Yes.
go. All right, so he's using the Around the Horn mute button to mute himself because he doesn't care about James. Too much drama. I don't care if I ever win a championship.
I mean,
Harden, right?
He hasn't been like one of the top players in like 4 years. He needs to just shut up and play.
Right.
Be better. That's all. Help his team. Earn his money. That's really all it comes down to. Besides for that, who cares? He wanted to go to Brooklyn to play with Durant and Kyrie, you know, the three crybabies. The Nets should have sold the T-shirts, the three crybabies. They're all gone now, thank God. Brooklyn's a lot cleaner place now. You know, the three losers. Glad they're all out of there. You know, none of them could win. The only way Durant could win is if he goes and hangs out with Curry, and he's still a loser.
Right.
But you know, these guys, they're so. At least Durant could say he's a good basketball player, and he can make a team better. The other two, and Harden, what does he do? He used to be good. You know, I mean, I don't know. That would be
Used
like
to be. That's the correct word. Used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he was really, really good with bad maturity problems. Now he's bad with bad maturity problems.
That's true.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
that's really good.
It'd be like if Charles Barkley said, I'm going to go out and win a scoring title. At least I care. I like Charles. Does anyone really like James Harden?
No, that's true. Nobody likes him. Joe, you really number one, nobody likes him. Number two, he's selfish. He's never won anywhere. And Imeudoka is going to do some really good things with Houston. I know he will. You know, he's on a mission to turn that culture around. He's going to do some unbelievable things there. But walking there with a guy, Imeudoka, who took the Celtics, by the way, to the finals, I believe, 1 year, right? So he's already got built-in credibility in the organization. You tell him I want to win a scoring title over winning. Oh, come on, James. Not only were you dumb enough to take a lower amount deal with the Sixers for $36 million, thinking you were going to get traded to the Clippers. You lost money on that exchange because you could have gotten $40-some million to stick it out for another year. And then you overplayed your hand. Now you're calling the guy that believed you in Houston a liar, okay, who rescued you. I mean, let's face it, James Harden knows when to go ahead and check out because he plays bad, he's overweight and all that. So you want to talk about the one player in pro sports, and I have a lot I don't like, but James Harden is definitely at the top of the list, beard or no beard. So, you know what, Joe? You are 100% right.
He
he
should go to wrestling. In wrestling, being not liked is a great skill. Jacob does a great show on wrestling. He would be phenomenal in like the WWE.
Yeah, but take one bump and he would be out 6 months. He can't stand pain.
I didn't say he would be good in the ring. I'm saying his personality.
Yeah,
he's so unlikable.
Yeah,
I don't get it. Just you haven't earned the right to talk. What he should do is go see Shanahan and ask Shanahan if they can ask, Lance about winning scoring titles. Maybe they can all come together since they're all in Texas, and they can have a sleepover at Jerry Jones' house. I like it now.
Well,
I'm seeing pictures. Jacob, get Denzel on the phone. We can write a movie.
Absolutely. And by the
Stupid
way,
things that happen in Texas.
He looks like Kimbo Slice without fighting ability.
Right?
Yeah.
He does look like Kimbo Slice. Now that I think about it.
Without fighting
that is
ability,
a good one.
yes.
Huh?
That is a good one.
Yeah, no, you guys you and Jacob have been on fire all night tonight. So keep it going. I love watching you guys, anyways. Not that you haven't worked together a time or two, anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's mildly putting. So yeah, James Harden to me, when he overplayed his hand in Houston, when he could have gotten what he's turning out to be is a bad businessman in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And when he really checks out, he really, really, really checks out.
Yeah.
I mean, think of how many situations where he's quit and move on somewhere else. All great at the beginning, 1 or 2 years. Everybody talks about Buck Showalter having a short shelf life. What about James Harden? We got these guys on the same show. We're talking about Showalter. We're talking about Harden. We're talking about these short shelf lives tonight.
Yeah, but Showalter leaves. He leaves, and at least people like him.
Well, not only does he leave when people like him, in most situation, he leaves him better off than he was when he started. Forget the mulligan of a year that the Mets had. I think that there's no question Buck will land somewhere else. But James Harden is running out of places to go, and nobody wants him anyways. You think the LA Clippers want to bring him back? Didn't they bring on, who was it, Russell Westbrook? Although I like Russell Westbrook because he's a hard worker. He really is, and he's had a lot of bad luck in terms of where he's gone. But I like Russell Westbrook, who, by the way, couldn't play with him either. So, how many guys couldn't play with this guy?
Have they started a basketball league in Antarctica yet? Maybe he could be the founding partner and start it up there or down there, wherever it
It's
is.
far enough away from me.
He's the perfect. He's the perfect for 3-on-3. For ice cube 3-on-3.
We can send him to China.
No, don't ruin that.
What? Don't ruin China.
No, the 3-on-3.
Don't ruin China either.
Yeah, leave China out of this.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah, well, he could walk the Great Wall, but I'll be darned if he's going to be playing great basketball over there. Bad analogy. Sorry, folks. But there's anything. But sometimes James Harden brings the worst out of everybody because the guy is a scorer when he wants to be, and I emphasize the word wants to be. When James Harden's a talented player, when he puts his mind in, he's checked in all the way. The only one that really wants to play with him is Joel Embiid. Don't go ahead and alienate the only friend you probably have. And now Nick Nurse is stuck with the problem. So we'll see. James Harden, I think when this came across my thing that he was going to get a max contract, but wanted a scoring title, you can't ignore it. You really can't. Because, it goes back to, I thought about Jacob. You talk about Jacob at the beginning. How many times has Jacob told us this guy will never win a championship? Well, this is just a classic evidence that either he won't win one or doesn't want to. It's all about the money. Let's just hope he doesn't end up like Latrell Sprewell.
Well, remember, the thing about it is, look what he does on his off times, on his off seasons, and it's all of this. When you play that much, when you have we'll even say LeBron even, because he's played so much basketball, okay? We'll even say him. We'll put him into the thing. We'll put Steph Curry into this. We'll put all of them into it. When you are in the finals all the time, that's 100 games. Sometimes you sit, sometimes you do all that. Remember, because of load management, which did not exist back in the day. But that's still that many games going. You got to have remember, I say at 10 years old, it's a dream. At 20 years old, it's work. And in between, about 15, 16, you have to know what you want to do. It becomes a business now. And I don't think Harden ever got the idea of business. I mean, I really don't, because in business, it's called winning. He's trying to have fun all the time.
Yeah,
but it's fun. It's like you have to win.
Even if it's you don't even have to talk about winning. You just have to not say stupid things.
Right.
You don't have to alienate yourself. These guys, they have agents, they have PR people.
Right.
It's like when you look at somebody like Antonio Brown, there's obviously some sort of mental issue that prevents him from having that filter. Does James Harden have that same issue at times? Because he has the people that he pays money to, that his PR person, his agent, to tell him what to say and how, what he shouldn't be saying because it makes his image look bad. And listen, it's a business. They're all there to make money, so you don't want to tarnish your image. And he's basically done that.
Right.
So, his agent or his PR person should be like, James, forget about talking about scoring titles. Just say you want to be the best player for the team. which means you want to be the best James Harden.
Right.
Right.
The best
Right.
James Harden is talented enough to win a scoring title. I know that. But the problem is he's Pat Riley's book. I know it was years ago. Best book I've ever read as far as motivation or anything. The Disease of Me. If that doesn't describe James Harden to a T, and if you haven't read it, great book. James Harden, Disease of Me.
I'll tell you this, and just think about how much with Bill Walsh's book about coaching and offense. I mean, he does some motivation too. So it's like, and how much his teams were team. Bill Walsh, everybody doing their thing, and it's like, and now we see it with Kyle Shanahan. It's like there are certain coaches that know how to get things going and get it together. But there's just players that don't want to do it, and they're throwing temper tantrums at the idea of doing it.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to close it out, because I know obviously we want to wrap it up tonight, but here's the thing. I don't look for analyst commentators that have an I in them, okay? Yes, I understand that they want to accomplish a lot and make sure that they can get as much as they can for themselves. I totally understand that, and everybody that sacrifices their time should maximize that opportunity. But I've always been a firm believer that your individual accomplishments come when the team does well. I've always believed in team first, I second. There might be some people think otherwise, but you know what? Unlike basketball where you can put 50 to 80 points up on a given night, every time you deal with a team sport, you get compensated in a lot of different ways, whether it's championships paid or whatever. And, I don't know how you run sideline, Joe, but I assume the team is a big part of what you do over there, isn't it? You want to make sure everybody's in it. Jacob, I think you could appreciate that analogy, right?
Absolutely.
Team first, not individual. George and I, you and I have been preaching this for ages, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's, as you look at this whole topic in perspective, Imeudoka was saying the same thing. I realize scoring is important to you. It's not like I don't know who you are, but I'm looking to build a winner based on the team concept. Unfortunately, you overplayed your hand. Now you're in Philadelphia for another year. And I guess the only soap opera analogy that I will go ahead as the James Harden turns. Okay, so we'll see. So with that said, all right, we'll let everybody have an opportunity to see how they get a hold of you. All right, George, lead off.
Alrighty, the book is called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. I'm the author of that book. I'm so happy Scott is getting closer and closer to his book. And Scott's in my book. I know I'm going to be in his book.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. We go back 40 plus years, getting our start in the Detroit area. To purchase a copy of the book, you'll see a link at the end of my column. I write frequently for the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner. And you can also reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com and also on LinkedIn at George Icorn, or you can find me on Twitter X at SanGSports99. Watch me here on the Sports Exchange, Pundits Pundin, 108 Stitches, Inside the Pigskin, a lot of great programs here I'm happy to contribute to. Thank you.
Okay, Jacob, I know you have a lot to talk about, so.
I never do anything.
Yeah, hardly.
Not
hard. I said hardly.
Yeah, right.
Remember that.
Jake the Pundit on Twitter, Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok. Sundays, our show now, the professor and the pupil. Monday nights is the off the top rope with Denzel and I for professional wrestling. We do that. Tuesdays I'm off, and once in a blue moon I'm back with Yin and Yang with TJ Sanson's, an independent deal. So we get that. Wednesdays doing Confidential, although not tonight, but for technical reasons. And then this show. Thursday nights is Pundits Pundit, and when I'm called and when it's off the bench, I do Gauntlet, just as a backup. So, and then I've also almost got myself a couple of movie clips to show you folks really soon. I might be very, very short ones, but that show you that I actually act.
All right, Joe. I assume you're not going to use the mute button on this, that you want your voice to be heard on this, right?
Definitely. So JB_ the program on Twitter, WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta. Sundays, NFL pregame show, 12 to 1. Sideline Sports, Tuesday night on social media. Wednesday morning, 7 to 8, WDJY 99.1. NFL Alumni Media, DBTV, and a whole bunch of other shows. Just subscribe to Sideline Sports, and you'll be involved in everything we have.
Not only that, I want to add a little something to what you just mentioned, Joe. We're working to try to help get the Sideline Sports website up to speed, and we're starting to make some progress. So folks, go out there and look for the Sideline Sports website. They're going to have a lot of great materials on there. Jacob, myself, and George are going to be contributing writers, as well as the other internal options that you have there. Our goal is to make the Sideline Sports website as good as we know it can be, and we're on a mission to do that. You guys are very, very valuable partners. You and I obviously are at the forefront of both organizations because we plan more. But you know what? I have the ultimate respect for a lot of your other people, but you and I obviously are the ones that are making sure this relationship gets stronger by the second. But that said, I want to point out that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button in YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Just participate in the chat room. That's one way to do it. Send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We find certain topic ideas that are in that email that match the show. We will invite you and match it up to what your strengths are. As Don Shula would say, you always want to make sure that you position your people from a position of strength, and truer words could be said. So also, if you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter /X @Tribune South. Candy Hebling is behind the scenes. And one last reminder, okay, I have a media book coming out in the next few weeks. It's called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. So I'm really excited to get that out there for everybody to read. But meanwhile, this has been a fun show. I know we talked a lot of heavy-duty, hard topics, but, you know, the thing that we have to do, and Joe and Jacob and George understand, is I don't mind taking the show a little longer as long as we have the best topics on the planet that are hard-hitting. We want to make sure that, Joe will probably agree with this as well, that if there's a hard-hitting subject, we don't want to feel like we're left out, because everybody can take these shows here, listen to them again, and, of course, comment thereafter. So, meanwhile, we want to thank you once again for joining us. All on behalf of George, Jacob, and JP, my name is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. And once again, tomorrow on Pundit's Pundit, we will be live at 8 Eastern Time. And once again, one of the topics we'll be talking about will be Frozen Frenzy, the NHL's version of NFL Red Zone. Good night, everybody, and have yourself a great week.